Well, hello, and thanks for the opportunity to MC this panel today, moderate it, and speak with you about infrastructure, an issue that impacts every American and is crucial to our economy. You know, it's timely that we're having this conversation today, as the Federal Clean Water Act was passed 50 years ago this October, and with the goal of making our waterways swimmable, fishable, and drinkable. And we've come a long ways in attaining that goal, but we must remain vigilant. I'm an 80 Oregonian, so for example, when I was younger, you would not swim or drink water from the Clackamas River. But today, it's becoming the drinking water source for nearly 300,000 people in Washington County. Well, as noted, my name is Greg DiLoretto, and I serve as the Vice Chair of Clackamas Water Environment Services Citizen Advisory Committee. But it's really my work nationally on infrastructure, I think, that in fact that Shelley and Greeny told me to get up here, that actually places me in front of you today. I've been involved in infrastructure for over 40 years, starting back when I was a young person as the Public Works Director and City Engineer for the City of Sandy. It's been my work with the American Society of Civil Engineers, in which in 2013 I served as their president. Following that, I became chair of ASCD's Committee on America's Infrastructure, where I've had the opportunity to give speeches all over the U.S. and around the world on the need for investment in infrastructure. I've been able to participate in hundreds of media interviews with outlets such as the New York Times, the Washington Post, Bloomberg News, NPR, many local newspapers and trade publications. I've also been tasked as the expert on the topic on CNN, MSNBC, and regional television affiliates in Los Angeles and Phoenix and others. And with the water crisis in Jackson, Mississippi, I was the quote water expert on NBC's Nightly News last month. Problem is, if you blink, you miss my 15 seconds of fame. I also have testified before Congress several times, including being asked to testify before the powerful House Ways and Means Committee. Well, today I'm honored to be a panelist with my colleagues at Water Environment Services. As probably was noted, the director is absent today, but I'm going to introduce him anyway because he's going to be up here with us, and you should know who he is. Greg Geist, director of Clackamas Water Environment Services, been with the organization 13 years and was with the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality for 13 years before that. Greg is passionate about the role clean water and surface water management play in protecting our watersheds, and you can see that throughout his organization. He's also a proud Army veteran. He's a proud graduate of Washington State University, where he received both his bachelor and master's degrees. Also on the panel today is Jeff Stoller. Jeff is a civil engineering supervisor. He's a project manager for WES, and you're going to get to hear about the really neat projects that he's working on in a minute. He has 21 years of experience in the environmental engineering field. He went to school at the University of Cincinnati, where he became a Cincinnati Reds baseball fan. As a baseball fan myself, who's been to every major league park but one, I can sympathize and appreciate being a fan. Next we'll have our panel, Jessica Renner. Jessica is also a civil engineering supervisor for WES, professional civil engineer with more than 25 years of experience in the environmental field. And as with Greg, Jessica shares a passion in ensuring that wastewater systems protect the public health and the environment. And Terrence Romaine is a resource recovery supervisor for WES, and he's currently serving as the interim environmental services manager responsible for the beneficial reuse of those wastewater residuals and developing water recycling and renewable energy opportunities for the county. And Jeff has nearly 20 years of regulatory and quality assurance experience, where he received his bachelor and master's degrees from Arizona State University. Well, it's worth being clear about what we mean by infrastructure and why it's critical. You know, roads and bridges are usually what comes to mind, but it's more than that. Infrastructure includes the airports we use, the schools our children attend, the parks and recreation areas we enjoy, what gives us clean drinking water, the buses and trains we ride to work, the power lines that keep the lights on and the internet flowing, the places where we store our waste and garbage, the dams and levees that protect against flooding, every mode of transport and every route that Amazon takes to deliver boxes to your home, and the broadband that allows us to have fast wireless speeds. Today I'm going to share with you the wastewater finding from the 2021 American Society of Civil Engineers report card for America's infrastructure. As the nation's oldest engineering society, representing 150,000 engineers who serve as one of the stewards of infrastructure here in the U.S. and around the globe, ASCE serves as a leading advocate for infrastructure. As part of that advocacy, every 4 years since 1998, ASCE has prepared a comprehensive assessment of the nation's major infrastructure categories in its infrastructure report card. It uses a simple, familiar A to F school report card format. The report card examines current infrastructure conditions and needs, assigns grades, and then makes recommendations on how to raise those grades. The national wastewater infrastructure grade in 2021 was a D+. Now, we completed a report card for Oregon in 2019 in which Oregon received a D grade for its wastewater infrastructure. Grading the D means the infrastructure is in poor condition and is at risk. In Oregon, wastewater deficiencies come from primarily from population growth, statewide asset deterioration, and disaster response. Oregon's compliance with the Clean Water Act standards depend on its ability to manage substantial demand increases on systems that were designed for much less capacity and address aging infrastructure on the brink of failure. These needs alone are challenging enough to fulfill and are now magnified by the threat of upcoming natural disasters. Estimates show that a total investment need for Oregon's wastewater infrastructure of approximately $5 billion. And in many cases, conveyance system assets are over 100 years old, but with so many competing needs for funding each year, service providers have no choice but to rely on these aging systems to convey wastewater volumes far exceeding their originally designed capacities. Based on a 2015 survey, which is old now, but ratepayers were on average paying $44 per 5,000 gallons, which out to about a penny a gallon for wastewater discharge. The suite of wastewater infrastructure vulnerabilities vary by geographic location, type of treatment system, age, and ownership status. Here's the thing. Rather than continuing to operate under business as usual framework, critical decision makers in Oregon and Clackamas County are shifting their efforts from singularly addressing short-term metrics like population growth, capacity demands, and are incorporating long-term resilience factors into planning, such as storm frequency and intensity, cybersecurity threats, and post-interruption recovery. Well, despite these alarming numbers and problems, WES is doing something about this, and has been for several years. And while the state overall looks bad, and climate change is affecting us, as someone with years of experience looking at the state of infrastructure nationwide, I can tell you that we are well positioned in Clackamas County. And you're going to hear that from our panelists in a few minutes. Now, recent federal funding hopes to decrease the existing financial shortfalls impacting both Oregon and the United States as a whole. The Oregon legislature appropriated $500 million from the American Rescue Plan to water-related projects in the state. That included $15 million to repair and replace septic systems, priority for communities that were impacted by the wildfires. In total, 58 water and sewer projects across the state were selected for funding. And the package passed by the legislature that appropriates ARP funding also provided one-time funding to increase access to water data, provide additional water planning support for communities, and develop a system to identify and address local and regional water needs. In Oregon, federal infrastructure law funding will roughly double the Clean Water State Revolving Fund available for the next 5 years for Oregon. The bipartisan infrastructure law provides $5 billion nationally to address emerging contaminants. And while the bipartisan infrastructure law and ARPA funding help, there is an enormous infrastructure investment gap in wastewater infrastructure, especially when you consider still undefined resiliency challenges. According to ASCE's Failure to Act economic study, which we published in 2020, the federal government's share of capital investment in wastewater has fallen from 63% in 1977, shortly after I started in the industry, to just 9% in 2017. And while this number is going to change with recent federal action, state and local entities, that's us, will shoulder the majority of capital projects and O&M expenses. Billions of dollars are needed each year to renew and replace outdated pumps and pipes and storage facilities and treatment plants that ensure clean water is delivered to homes and businesses across the nation and then carried away and safely treat these sewage and stormwater and return treated water to our rivers, our streams, our lakes, and our wildlife. Local, state, and federal funding is meeting just currently a fraction of that need. And our report not only quantifies the total underinvestment in water and wastewater infrastructure, but it also looks at the impact of industries as a result of underinvestment. Water and wastewater service disruptions to U.S. households and businesses result in large, unexpected, personal costs to individuals and families. And in 2019, service disruptions and flooding due to sewer overflows and stormwater drainage problems cost households an estimated $2 billion. During drinking water outages, household residents need to find alternative water supplies, and in extreme situations have to relocate either temporarily or permanently. Just think what it means not to have access to drinking water. Increased climate-related flooding in some areas of the country will increase the cost and burden on households from repeated cleanups, rehabilitation, and structural repair. As infrastructure ages and the rate of infrastructure failures increase, household costs will more than double in 10 years to $4.3 billion and to almost $14 billion by 2039. So now, the topic for today, safeguarding a clean water future. Are we ready? Let's hear from our panel, and Jeff's going to start us off.
Thank you, Gary. Before I get going with this part of the presentation, I want to take a moment to thank the Oregon City Business Alliance for your continued support and allowing us an opportunity to come in and talk to you about all the exciting work we're doing with us, all the work that we're currently in planning or delivering right now and into the future. Unfortunately, as you've heard, Greg Geis was not able to join us today, so I'll be stepping in and giving his portion of the presentation.
No way to
so you might not know how we're governed, but the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners serves as the governing body of WES. WES, in addition to that, has an advisory committee made up of ratepayers from our service areas, elected officials, developers, business owners like yourselves. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge, I'm not sure if she made it, but Martha Schrader, who is the board liaison to the West Advisory Committee. I want to acknowledge Paul Savas, who serves as her alternate. The Oregon City representative. The Oregon City representation includes Mayor Denise McGriff, William Gifford, Renee Harbour, and David Schleif. We're also pleased to have with us today the committee chair, Diana Helm. Thank you guys for joining us. The current advisory committee members have experience in wastewater management, watershed health, economic development, and surface water. And this group plays an integral role in the direction that WES is going to be going, as they are the ones that provide the recommendations and input to the Board of County Commissioners on a variety of topics that we manage. So I spoke with Greg yesterday, and the one point that he really wanted me to drive home today was that our community connections at WES are really critical to what is going to allow us to safeguard a clean water future. So as you can see in this slide, WES partners with a variety of agencies and special interest groups to maintain the healthy watershed that we all enjoy. Shown here are just a few of the numerous ways that we partner within our community. Every summer we work with Solve on organizing waterway cleanups. We partner with the Clackamas Academy of Industrial Sciences, where we provide students of that academy real-world opportunities to visit our projects and gain some real-world project experience that way. And we work on an ongoing basis with our cultural, tribal, and cultural and tribal partners to mitigate the impacts of it. So these are just a few, but as you can imagine, there are a number of ways that we are partnering with our community to build a resilient, clean water future that supports the vitality of our natural environment and economy. So what areas do we serve? I think that would be a good segue here. So I want to take a moment and kind of tell you what we are and who we do. Who we are and what we do. Clackamas West produces clean water and protects water quality. We do this by operating 5 resource recovery facilities, 23 pumping stations, and 360 miles of pipelines. The area in green here shows the West service area, which does include Oregon City and the many other cities that are shown here. In addition to treating the more than 7 billion gallons of water that come to us every year, we also recover byproducts of our treatment processes, and we convert those into electricity and natural fertilizer. Beyond the collection and treatment systems, we also work to reduce pollution in our local rivers, streams, and wetlands caused by urban runoff. It is through these activities that West is able to ensure that our community enjoys the many economic and social benefits that having a safe and healthy waterway provide. So you're going to hear in the coming presentations about all the exciting work that West has identified through all of our short and long-range planning efforts. However, before we dive into those details, I thought I'd take a moment and show kind of how are our rates invested into our infrastructure. And I say "our" because I am a ratepayer here. I live in Westland, so all this work impacts me as well personally. So the pie chart shown here identifies generally how our rates are invested into our infrastructure. The bulk of the rate, 61% roughly, is directed towards the operation and maintenance activities. This is really the money that goes towards keeping our plants and collection systems running. The second biggest contribution, 28%, goes towards infrastructure replacement and expansion. This is kind of the capital investments. It could be renewal and replacement activities or building expansion to allow growth in our community. And lastly, 11% is to pay back debt. So that is projects that we finance, we have to pay that money. And so 11% of our rates go towards debt payback. That's very high level in general. I just wanted to share that. I do want to take a moment to celebrate a project that was recently completed at our Tri-City Water Resource Recovery Facility. This is a project that I worked on for my first day at West 6.5 years ago until we're still kind of tidying up the loose ends. But the solids handling improvement project featured a new anaerobic digester to treat solids, which is a byproduct of our wastewater treatment process. This project ensured reliable, energy efficient, and wastewater treatment services for decades to come. One really exciting feature of this project was the cogeneration system that collects methane gas that is produced in our digesters and converts that gas into electricity and heat by running it in an engine. The engine produces enough electricity to offset nearly half of the power demands for our Tri-City facility, and it also provides heat to our process. We have to heat our digesters so we get to capture that heat and use it, and we can heat our admin building and our process areas as well. West was able to secure grant funding for this project from both the Energy Trust of Oregon and the Portland General Electric Renewable Development Fund, which really made the project possible, that portion of the project possible. As a reminder of the importance of protecting watershed health and in celebration of the completion of the solids handling improvement project, artist David Anderson and his Clackamas Community College students created this amazing mural on what was originally just a big white odor tower. You can see in the top right image there. This mural really tells the story of watershed health and why it matters to climate change in our world. So if you ever find yourself touring our Tri-City facility, I do recommend spending just a few minutes looking at this neat piece of art. I get to walk by it regularly, and I'm always amazed at all the little details that I continue to find that surprise me every day. So it's a really neat feature at our treatment plant. So I am excited to share also that this project, the Solids Handling Improvement Project, won 2 awards this year. We won the Sustainability Award from the Pacific Northwest Clean Water Association and from the County Resiliency, Infrastructure, Energy, and Sustainability Award from the National Association of Counties. So it's a very exciting project for us to have worked on. As with all the project initiatives you will hear today, the need for the solids project was identified during one of the many planning studies that WES has done to make sure that we're planning for our future. These studies are how we, as WES, ensure that we will support the current and future needs of our community. This project was the first in a series of projects and initiatives that we have in our service area, some of which you'll hear about. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Jessica.